The neighbor who tried to steal my lake and paid the ultimate price. It was a crisp autumn morning when I woke to a nightmare. A sheriff's deputy stood on my porch, his voice cold as steel. Your lake is being seized. Vacate immediately or face arrest. My heart sank. I owned a 15-acre ranch with a pristine 2-acre lake, a gem I'd inherited from my father. But Margaret Thompson, the iron-fisted president of the local homeowners association, had listed my lake for sale online $2 million without my consent. She'd called the cops, spun a web of lies, and turned my quiet life into chaos. 5 patrol cars rolled up while I was teaching a family to fish, all because Margaret wanted me bankrupt. But she made one fatal mistake. Her mansion's only access road crossed my land. When I uncovered her secret, let's just say her empire crumbled. Hard. My name is James Carter, 52, and 3 years ago, I inherited my father's ranch in Willow Creek, a sleepy town in upstate New York. The lake was the heart of the property, clear as glass, teeming with bass that practically begged to be caught. But owning a ranch isn't all sunsets and fishing rods. The maintenance costs hit like a freight train. The barn roof leaked so badly that I kept buckets in the living room. My contractor quoted $12,000 to fix it, and that was the family discount. Desperate to keep the place afloat, I had a light bulb moment. Rent out the lake for fishing. I listed it on a site called Fish Easy for $60 a day. It seemed like a no-brainer to cover repairs and maybe save for the next disaster. What could go wrong? My first customers were a retired couple, Ed and Linda, who wanted to teach their grandson, Tommy, to fish. Tommy, a wide-eyed 8-year-old, called me twice to ask if the fish liked red lures or worms better. They booked a week, paid up front, and I thought this side hustle might just work. Then, at 2 a.m., my phone pinged with an email that turned my world upside down. The subject line screamed in bold red, "Cease and desist, illegal activity." The sender? Margaret Thompson, HOA president for a decade and self-appointed queen of Willow Creek. Her 3-page tirade cited violations and threatened lawsuits, despite my ranch being a full mile outside her HOA's jurisdiction. I briefly joined the HOA by mistake 2 years earlier, forgot to read the fine print when setting up Wi-Fi, and canceled when I realized my error. But Margaret never forgot a grudge. I fired back a polite email with a map proving my land was beyond her reach, thinking that'd settle it. I was wrong. That night, Margaret called Ed and Linda at midnight, claiming my business was illegal and hinting at federal investigations. By morning, Linda called me, her voice trembling. "We can't risk trouble with Tommy." "I'm so sorry, James." I heard Tommy sobbing in the background, asking if I was a criminal. That stung worse than any lost deposit. But Margaret wasn't done. She plastered my house on her Facebook page with a telephoto lens shot, captioned, "Illegal business endangering our kids. Share to protect our town." The post exploded 400 likes, 100 shares in hours. Strangers called me a predator, a drug dealer, even a trafficker. 3 more bookings canceled, costing me $500. My dream was crumbling. The next morning, sirens shattered the dawn. 3 patrol cars and AK-9 unit roared up my driveway while I was showing a retired couple how to cast. Margaret sprinted from behind the cops, pointing like I was a fugitive. "That's him. He's running a terrorist camp," she shrieked. Deputy Malone, looking baffled, approached cautiously. "Sir, we've got reports of suspicious activity. Step away from the rods." The couple, George and Helen, clutched their tackle boxes, terrified. George stammered that they'd found me on Fish Easy, just wanting bass for dinner. Margaret, in designer heels sinking into mud, demanded they search the lake for bodies. Malone sighed. "Ma'am, this is the 6th false call today. Fishing isn't terrorism." He warned her about charges for misusing 9/11, apologized to me, and suggested a restraining order. Margaret stormed off, vowing to have his badge. My neighbor, Hank, a 72-year-old who'd seen it all, ambled over with a beer and his ancient laptop. "You want to know why Margaret's got it in for you?" he said, opening a folder labeled Town Gossip. A 20-year-old article appeared, "Local woman's $5 million inheritance tied to land deal." Margaret's father left her millions, but only if she bought back their family's old Landme ranch. Her great-grandfather sold it during the Great Depression, and her family never forgave the loss. When my father refused her $4 million offer, she vowed revenge. Hank pointed at Margaret's mansion. "She's waiting for you to go broke, James. She'll swoop in with a lowball offer." My blood boiled. This wasn't about rules, it was personal. Then Hank dropped a bombshell. Ever notice Margaret parks her Lexus at my place and walks home? He pulled up a satellite map. Her mansion's driveway are only access and straight through my land. No easement, no permit, nothing. She'd been trespassing for 30 years. Better yet, a tiny lot, parcel 12C, where her driveway met the county road, was up for tax auction in a week. The owner had died, and his heirs forgot the taxes. Starting bid? $6,000. Whoever owned that lot controlled Margaret's $10 million mansion. Hank grinned. She fined me $600 for a wrong shade mailbox. Time for payback. He gave me his friend's card at the county office to confirm the details. I set up trail cameras legal on my land and caught Margaret's Lexus crossing my property daily. At the county office, Hank's buddy verified it. No easement, no rights. But the clerk mentioned someone else had asked about parcel 12C, a woman, dressed like a CEO. Margaret knew her vulnerability and planned to bid. Hank and I strategized. She thought I was broke after she tanked my business. I had $50,000 saved, living frugally, and she didn't know. We had to outsmart her. Margaret called an emergency HOA meeting, packing the community center with 200 residents. Her presentation, The Threat Next Door, had 50 slides slandering me. Fake stats claimed 95% of child crimes start with home businesses. She showed edited gas station footage of me buying candy, slowed with ominous music, implying I was luring kids. The crowd ate it up, shouting for the FBI. I stood, heart pounding, and plugged my laptop into her projector. Before you vote on lies, let's talk facts. I showed the satellite map, and her driveway was clearly on my land. The room erupted. She's been trespassing for 30 years. Hank piled on, exposing her petty fines $900 for his too-tall hedge. Others joined, venting years of her tyranny. Margaret threw a microphone, kicked a chair, and fled, hissing, "Your father should have sold when he had the chance." The auction day arrived with sabotage. My truck's tires were slashed, windshield smashed. An Uber driver got lost 3 times, making me 40 minutes late. Margaret sat front row, in a Chanel suit, with 3 hired bidders and her lawyer. Her signals were clear. Touch your earring, bid, hand on purse, stop. Parcel 12C opened at $6,000. Her first bidder called $7,000. I countered, $8,000. It escalated fast, $20,000, $40,000, $80,000. At $100,000, her second bidder dropped out. It was me against her last man, a cold-eyed suit. $120,000, he sneered. Margaret smirked, thinking I was done. I called my mom, voice shaking. I need your retirement savings. Trust me. She didn't hesitate. How much, James? Margaret laughed. Calling mommy? Pathetic. I shouted, $160,000. The room froze. The gavel fell. I'd won. Margaret screamed, throwing her purse. Her lawyer whispered about the 1890 Roads Act, hinting she had another trick. 3 days later, a process server delivered a lawsuit. Margaret claimed a historic road on my land, backed by a pristine 1890 map. Her lawyer argued federal law protected it. Lawyers I called refused the case. Margaret's influence was too strong. A young attorney confirmed, if that map's real, you're sunk. My bank warned of loan payments. Fish Easy banned me, and local news painted me as a villain. Margaret live-streamed, offering to buy my ranch at half value, playing the saint to 6,000 viewers. I was drowning until Hank barreled in with a banker's box. Found something, James. A 1966 newspaper headline read, Flood wipes out 19 county roads, permanently discontinued. Old Miller Path, Margaret's historic road, was number 14, legally erased. Her map was worthless. Margaret's next live stream, Historic Victory, hit 15,000 viewers. Hank and I marched to her mansion, documents in hand. She was mid-speech, claiming my defeat, when I rang her bell. Thinking I'd surrender, she opened the door, phone angled for her audience. I held up the 1966 decree. This proves your 1890 map is fake. Your road was discontinued 50 years ago. You've been trespassing for 30 years. Her smile vanished. She lunged for her phone, knocking it over, but it kept rolling, capturing her panic. It's a deep fake, she screamed. Hank backed me up. I worked in county records for 35 years. This is real. The chat exploded. Karen exposed. Busted in 4K. At 40,000 viewers, Margaret sobbed, confessing, "That land should be mine. I offered $4 million, but his father refused." Her boss commented, "You're fired, Margaret." At 10 million views, her empire collapsed. I gave her two choices: fight in court, facing fraud and trespassing charges, or apologize, resign from the HOA, pay $200,000 for 30 years, back rent, and never harass again. Defeated, she chose the latter, signing the agreement in tears. Her mansion sold at a loss, and she left Willow Creek, a pariah. I kept the ranch, revived Fish Easy, and became a local hero. Justice tasted sweeter than any base from my lake. What would you do if a neighbor tried to ruin you? Was my revenge too harsh, or did Margaret deserve it? Share your thoughts below, especially on bullying and injustice. Take a stand. Your voice matters.